I think limiting to one is difficult because I would have given a lot of advice. But I would say I will tell my younger self to embrace growth mindset and be patient, as the journey is more important than the destination. I would also tell my younger self to seize opportunities, especially when someone is willing to take a chance on you. Oftentimes, we look at like what are all the requirements and be self-critical and say like I didn't meet this, so I will be hesitant to take this opportunity. My recommendation is do not hesitate and step out of your comfort zone. Those early moments where someone believes in you can be transformative. Creating a high-performing cybersecurity team goes beyond technical expertise and tools. It's more about fostering a culture of support, empowerment, and shared purpose. The key to success is building trust and aligning personal and professional growth as close as possible and promoting psychological safety at work. When you encourage continuous learning, maintaining open communication with your team members and peers, people feel invested, feel empowered, and supported. They go above and beyond.
Welcome to another episode of Beyond Brilliance. I'm JK, and today we are joined by truly remarkable guests. From starting out as an inspector of customs in India to becoming Chief Information Security Officer at Chewy, his journey is nothing short of inspiring. In this conversation, we'll dive deep into leadership lessons of building high-performing teams and personal mindset shifts that occur when you define success in tech leadership.
And I'm Jay, and this is one of those rare conversations we are going to explore not just professional milestones, but also the human side of things that comes into shaping our leadership, decision-making skills, and resilience that's built over decades. And Srini brings a lot of energy and a lot of life lessons to his leadership and team building skills. So I'm very glad that we could get Srini on the call today, and very grateful for his time. Thank you, Srini, for joining us, and welcome to Beyond Brilliance.
You're welcome. Thank you, JK and Jay, for the warm welcome and nice introduction. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm really excited to be here and chat about all things cybersecurity, among other things. It's great to be able to share some insights and also learn from the conversation today. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Srini, you've had a fascinating journey from being the customs officer in India to becoming a CISO. What's the line that connects these seemingly different roles together?
Great question, JK. Well, the contexts differ. One, working for a government agency in public service in India, and now as a CISO for Chewy, which is a fast-growing e-commerce pet retailer. The fundamental core skills like problem solving, risk management, and security are very much the same. As an inspector of customs and federal excise in India, I focused on securing goods, ensuring compliance, spotting fraud, and mitigating risks that are associated with revenue as well as national security. Whereas now in my current role as CISO, many of these same principles apply, but in a digital space. Instead of customs checkpoint and federal access assessments, I now manage firewalls, access controls, threat intelligence, as well as protecting data and systems. The shift from physical to cyber threat is real, but the underlying responsibility remains, such as safeguarding assets and crown jewels, and ensuring compliance and staying ahead of the threats.
Looking back at your 25-year career spanning government, consulting, retail, banking, and now e-commerce, what's been the most dramatic shift you witnessed in technology and security?
That's a great question. And as you said, like 25 years is a long time. Yeah, major shift, in my opinion, has been moving from perimeter-based security to a distributed data-centric model driven by cloud adoption, mobile computing, and global cyber threats that are emerging on a daily basis. The key changes kind of beyond this one kind of highlight is the breakdown of traditional network perimeter to the rise of zero trust, which is everywhere now, and the more complex threat landscape with sophisticated external attacks, and the use of AI and automation in security area to match modern threats that are speed and scale. The tools and strategy that we use must constantly evolve to keep up with these emerging threats, making cybersecurity an exciting and ever-changing field. And more importantly, we need to keep in mind that consumer trust is very critical. Companies now face the interesting challenge of balancing offering great products and services with robust data protection and privacy to earn the customer trust.
Cool. It's very interesting to know, right, about your experiences here on the cybersecurity space. And I also feel like, team building and leadership philosophy in the cybersecurity space is very unique. And it lends for having different kinds of characteristics for individuals to be successful. So in your own sense, like you've led a lot of high performing teams at different organizations, and you've always come out with high team engagement scores and satisfactions amongst all the companies that you've served. What's that secret sauce of building high performing cybersecurity teams? I'm very interested in learning about how to build a high performing cybersecurity team, which is very niche and probably calls for different styles of leadership and different types of characteristics in individuals. So would love to explore that aspect of it, Srini.
Absolutely, Jay. And the team engagement and satisfaction, in my opinion, are cornerstones of any leadership approach. Absolutely mine. And I believe they are among the most rewarding aspects of building a successful team, whether it's a larger technology team or specifically cybersecurity team. Creating a high-performing cybersecurity team goes beyond technical expertise and tools. It's more about fostering a culture of support, empowerment, and shared purpose. The key to success is building trust and aligning personal and professional growth as close as possible and promoting psychological safety at work. When you encourage continuous learning, maintaining open communication with your team members and peers, and make sure people are feeling valued, they not only protect systems, but also more passionate about their work, and it shows. And for me, the team's engagement and satisfaction are direct reflections of how well we are fostering these elements that I mentioned. When people feel invested, feel empowered, and supported, they go above and beyond, whether it's responding to incidents in cybersecurity space or proactively improving security for the overall company and systems. You start seeing the velocity and productivity start showing up when you have kind of committed employees and high performing teams.
Thank you. Thank you for that insight. And you've also managed global teams across different time zones and cultures. What have you learned about leading distributed operations, and what makes it better for managing these widely distributed teams and operations effectively?
Absolutely. I think the challenges as well as the rewards are quite interesting when you are leading a global team across different time zones and across different cultures. But underlying human element remains the same. Leading a distributed kind of team, distributed teams and organizations across the globe is, as I said, like both rewarding and challenging. But over the years, I have learned that managing global technology and cybersecurity teams goes beyond synchronizing our schedules. It's about building trust, fostering inclusivity, and aligning goals across diverse geographies. Successful leadership in this context requires international communication and cultural respect, flexibility, and a shared sense of purpose. If you lead with empathy, embrace adaptability, and ensure everyone feels connected and valued, it shows in the output. And what I have found, when people feel trusted, empowered, and respected, they go extra mile and kind of to produce great results, as well as protecting the company and systems, whether you are operating within one country or across many countries in the world. It remains the same. So you see the performance showing up when team members are committed and valued.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Srini. And I also wanted to index this with the wide variety of companies and countries you've served, and also like different types of industries that you've served. You've served in grocery and retail, you've worked in banking, you worked in office supplies, and now at e-commerce storefronts and marketplaces. How does leadership change in these different industries, and are they different or are they same?
And it's interesting, leading across, as you said, diverse industries and different types of companies, both government sector, public, and private. It gives me a broad perspective on leadership and the nuances involved in each of these industries. While the core principles like trust, communication, and empowerment remain constant, each industry brings its own unique set of challenges shaped by customers, regulations, business models, and operating environments. For example, in grocery, the focus is highly on operational efficiency and how quickly you can kind of have the decision making at the store level, so that you can kind of manage out of stock kind of situation and provide customer service at the point of interaction at customers at the stores. Whereas with the banking and financial industry, the emphasis is a lot more on the regulatory compliance, risk management, and ensuring that we have the ability to maintain customer trust. Whereas on the office supply industry, the kind of challenges are somewhat more nuanced because we were in a space where it was kind of emerging as an omni-channel powerhouse. So managing both B2B and B2C relationship takes extra care and extra nuance, as well as having the expertise to operate and provide expertise in all the channels that we were operating in. I would say like more sophisticated supply chain logistics, and with employees nurturing the business and client relationship. Whereas coming to my current role as a premier e-commerce company, we are really into building emotional customer connection by leveraging personalization for loyalty and scaling operations quickly while maintaining a customer first approach. So, how do you provide this warm and fuzzy feeling that you get when you visit the corner store while you are operating with multiple millions of customers in an e-commerce environment? So that is what is fascinating. Despite the unique challenges of each industry, the underlying factor, the people, whether it is customers or employees, always at the heart of any effective leadership.
Got it. And thanks for sharing your leadership story.
Srini, the cybersecurity skills gap is quite real. How do you approach hiring and developing talent in this competitive market?
I think the talent or the rush for top talent is evident, and you can see as we are moving more and more towards a knowledge based kind of work and knowledge based industry. This is the hot commodity that everybody is after, and it's even more so in the cybersecurity, where the skills gap is one of the biggest challenges today, and it is only growing as the demand for professionals rise. Having scaled cybersecurity teams rapidly in the last few places, including at Chewy, I got to create the teams with both hiring and talent development in this competitive market. Some of the principles that I kind of embraced that came handy in building these high performing teams are prioritizing the growth potential over perfect skills match. So when you are kind of looking at a candidate, I'm not looking at like, are they checking on all the boxes? And rather, like, we need to go beyond that and see, do they have the potential to be truly embracing the culture of the company, to be the valuable member who can contribute, who can learn along with the company, and diversify the hiring sources so that you can include non-traditional backgrounds and candidates with diverse backgrounds that are going to be kind of strong team members. And as a combined team, we will be strong overall. And investing and upskilling with including different programs, including mentorship to develop internal talent. As much as we are putting emphasis on bringing in new talent into the team, we cannot lose sight of the fact that the same weightage need to be given and investments need to be made for our existing talent. And then fostering a culture of learning, flexibility, and recognition to keep the teams engaged and motivated to perform their best. And beyond this, and leveraging your partner ecosystem, whether it is academic institutions or industry forums, or in this case, cybersecurity forums that we work with our peers, and how do we leverage them, and how do we create kind of instruments such as boot camps to build sustainable talent pipeline? It could be innovation day, it could be hackathon that brings kind of new talent and brings interest in a lot of people that may not have thought cybersecurity as their career option. But cybersecurity as a whole is a very vast field. So not everybody needs to be technical experts. So that allows us to kind of give the exposure and draw people who have interest and curiosity. In today's competitive landscape, the most effective strategy is going with a holistic one, hiring a diverse and adaptable talent and building a supportive, growth driven culture that retains and develops team members for long term.
Thank you, Srini. I think the key of inclusivity, diversity, and understanding the skills gap and developing is critical for success. And I'm glad you achieved that in this extremely complex, hyper competitive space. Stepping a bit further, what's your approach to mentoring and growing the next generation of cybersecurity professionals?
As a people leader, mentoring the next generation of cybersecurity professional is, I would say, like one of the most rewarding aspects, in my opinion. And it is about nurturing technical excellence, leadership growth, and fostering a strong sense of purpose and responsibility. And cybersecurity is not just about problem solving, it's about creating a safer digital world for individuals as well as businesses. So mentorship goes beyond technical skills. It's about building resilience, leadership bench, and helping them understand a deeper purpose behind their work. And if they have visibility into what they are doing on an everyday basis, how it is directly aligned to the company's mission and vision, you already achieved half of the work. And cybersecurity has a real world impact in that sense. When guiding the talent to recognize and act that can shape their careers as well as larger industry is very valuable. For me, as the threat landscape becomes more and more complex with every single day, laying a strong foundation for the next generation is crucial to the success, and mentorship is an important component of.
Thanks, Srini. That was a very insightful duel between yourself and JK there. I really resonated with a lot of themes that you're talking about when it comes to mentorship. So now we want to shift our focus to executive communication and organizational influence, which is something that you have done all throughout your career. And you being already part of C-suite, you're the best qualified and equipped person to answer some of our questions that comes in this particular section. So you've run annual tabletop exercises with your executives at different organizations. How do you get C-suite execs who aren't technical enough to try to understand or invest in cybersecurity?
No, that's a great question, Jay. Thanks for teeing it up. Getting the very senior leaders or C-suite executives, the buy-in and understanding is, especially as you said, those who have less of a technical background to invest in cybersecurity is challenging. But let me tell you that I'm very fortunate to have a very tech-savvy leadership team at Chewy, so that's less of a problem for me. A bit of a fortunate situation there. But the annual tabletop exercise are just one part of a larger engagement framework where I share regular updates to our stakeholders, including our leadership, to kind of have the transparency that is needed to build trust over time. What I also found is framing the security in terms of business outcomes is essential, especially when you're engaging with your leaders. You need to be able to speak their language, be it kind of the technical challenges or security risks. How do you frame this as a business risk, business cost, or opportunity, not using any of the technical jargons or metrics? For me, framing that with regard to financial exposure, regulatory compliance risk, or what we have for reputational harm if we don't do certain things, or operational impact of doing or not doing certain security initiative. This conveys the message more impactfully than just throwing a lot of numbers at them. And also, it's more kind of important to use real world example rather than going with hypothetical situations. So show the impact of security incidents on other companies as an example, or as part of my industry update that I kind of provide, I draw upon the headlines that we get on a weekly basis and see how relevant and what are we doing about it to protect. So that just goes a long way in building transparency and trust. And also use benchmarking to peer companies to ensure alignment on any of the industry defined metrics that may intersect with, say, for example, legal or internal audit, and we ensure that we are aligned on those metrics and then communicate that as a joint team to our leaders. That gives you more credibility. And then the other kind of the mandate for me is the cybersecurity is not an organization of no. The mandate is more about how do we are truly business enabler, and by highlighting the kind of the role that cybersecurity can play in terms of the revenue growth or customer trust or brand reputation, that goes a long way with our leaders. And then we adapt a risk-based approach. That means we look at the cyber risk like any other business risk and say what is involved in terms of the investments, in terms of the commitments that we make, and then what is the risk for not doing it. And then at that point, unless it's like a non-negotiable security requirement or complaints requirement, many of them are treated as a business decision. And then you decide like whether it's appropriate for us to make the investment to mitigate or manage the risk effectively. And then kind of over a period, say how we continue to ensure kind of we are disciplined in executing the strategy, and that allows us to minimize the risk and operational disruptions that end of the day helps the business and kind of provide superior customer service. This comes in very handy for me. And as to sum up, I think when we communicate the risks in terms of business risk and long-term resilience, it is easier for leaders to appreciate cybersecurity as a critical business function and offer necessary resources and support.
Got it. And thanks, Srini, for anchoring that answer with you bringing in the real world experiences, right? And also you talked about, using some of the real news or real-time incidents to basically underline the importance of actually having investments in cybersecurity. Is there any specific incident like, oh, this happened at this point in time in Q1 or Q2 of this year, something happened very significant. As a result, this was the actions that I had taken. If you can anchor that with some kind of real life example, that'll be like very interesting for our viewers to learn from.
Fortunately, cybersecurity is a space where there is no lack of examples. Hardly a week goes by where you don't have a headline that is kind of stopping you on your tracks and say, oh, kind of, is my information secure? As because you are hearing about breaches in large, well-known companies on a weekly basis. What we do internally is we have a practice where any of these headlines we pay attention. We have set up professionals that pay attention to all these headlines and then assess the applicability, both from a team member perspective, customer perspective, as well as company as a whole. And then we kind of go through a very disciplined exercise to identify, do we have sufficient guardrails and protections in place if any of those risks, breaches, and incidents that we are seeing in the headline becomes a reality. And it allows us to kind of assess on a daily basis, literally, and see if we have our security posture is robust enough to deter and prevent any of these challenges, or if there are opportunities that we see, we take that as critical input to improve our strategy. And sometimes it allowed us to bring in newer technologies or improve our processes or policies. And so depends on the nature of the incident. We do that, and some of the good example is also we keep a closer eye on what is the emerging technology that is up there in artificial intelligence. A couple of years back, when we start seeing this as an emerging force, we started looking at how do we harness the power of artificial intelligence and Gen AI for security and cybersecurity, and that allowed us to bring in some of the tools that were not originally in our radar, but were very impactful and kind of glad to say that that's already yielding the results.
Got it. Thanks, Srini, for anchoring that with real life examples, right? So one question that naturally leads to me next is: you are in a cybersecurity space, and what is your philosophy? Is it a buy or a build? Because you talked about tools, acquiring tools that probably protects you, and I'm very interested in knowing when you're building cybersecurity teams, do you index on tools that are externally benchmarked, or do you want to build internal capabilities that go along with augmenting that? So, what's your philosophy around that buy versus build in a cybersecurity space?
Our engineering is kind of made up of builders.
Okay.
So any day, that is a very straightforward conversation. If we have an opportunity to build rather than buy, we would choose that. However, on the cybersecurity, this is somewhat unique because for us to build a sophisticated tool or solution or platform, it requires a lot of expertise and heavy investment. And if it is not our primary line of business, it is the investment that as a business leader, you cannot justify because the impact and the risk that you are managing is somewhat limited within the context of Chewy. That is where we try to be kind of taking a layered approach where we are smart about like identifying our opportunities and capabilities that we need to augment, and then we go out and buy specific tools or technologies that will complement our strategy and improve our security posture. So specific to cybersecurity, we are not always build first. We look at what are the appropriate technologies and tools that are emerging. Many of them are evolving. Literally, some of the tools that we bought this year, they were not even in the radar a couple of years back. So that is how fast these industry and tools are evolving. So we go out and buy to augment our existing security arsenal that we have. That said, we are big on automation. We are building our capabilities. When we buy these tools, they are just kind of one piece of the puzzle. The value proposition is really high when you have the ability to integrate all of these tools. When you bring in the logs from all of the tools that we are buying, as well as the platform that we are building, how do we have holistic view of all these logs in a single location? And that is where having our SIM platform and runbook with the ability that you can monitor everything happening in real time and responding to it without much of a manual intervention is more of our kind of build our own solution.
Got it. And to round out this particular segment, wanted to understand like how do you use technical security risks, right? How do you translate those technical security risks into business language that can actually resonate with both leadership and your team?
Absolutely. I think I look at CISO role as a business leader who is focusing on technology and specifically cybersecurity risk. That just changes the context. So when we look at a lot of our metrics, a lot of the updates that we are communicating to the audit committee or the board or our leaders are primarily in business languages. So if we are looking at kind of working with our product counterparts, security is the first feature. So once you have that mindset, it becomes easier that whether you want to take care of security requirements upfront and take care of the needs, or you are going to pay a lot more before you release a product by deferring it to a later point in the life cycle. Similarly, we look at overall third-party risk management, where security and cybersecurity is a critical component. When we work with our financial kind of partners, we look at overall appetite for risk that includes cybersecurity risk. That is a key component for us to kind of measure how much we wanted to invest in managing some of the risks. And in areas where we want to go out and get cybersecurity insurance, it also allows us to kind of say like what kind of threshold that we need and what kind of coverage that we need. So having these kind of conversations with our partners, including audit, including legal, including finance, including product, allows you to kind of be understanding what the language that they are speaking and how you can use it for cybersecurity to measure and uh, validate our investments.
Very interesting, Srini. You talked about cybersecurity insurance. I have one last question to just get myself understand a good understanding of what that means, right? Is it based on the size of the company, or is it based on specific solutions, or how do you size that problem? Like, what is the dollar amount that you put to an insurance for the different organizations that you've served? Like, how do you come up with that number?
No, it is a lot of inputs that go into to come up with the number that we wanted to get in coverage. That is also involves like a risk tolerance and risk appetite for the company, and that also directly correlational to the size of the company and what are the protections that we have in place. So this exercise kind of is very involved, a lot more than going out and getting our auto insurance, right? I think when we go and talk to a lot of these insurance providers, they wanted to understand what are all our kind of tools that are in place, what are our security practices, what is our security posture, what is our strategy, and how we are tracking with regard to our maturity with regard to our peers. Did we have any incidents, and do we have robust processes in place to handle any threats that are kind of happening or that are emerging? So there's a lot more involved conversations happening with the insurers, our partners, to identify. And then in some cases, we may also choose to self-insure. In those cases, we don't need to go out and buy coverage. So these are all the factors that play into as input before we go out and work with a consortium of insurers to kind of typically like we get multiple insurers kind of teaming up to provide insurance coverage for cyber.
Yeah, very interesting, right? It's so easy to buy an auto insurance, and I just cannot imagine how much of a exercise it is to go and, insure a company for cybersecurity incidents and, safeguarding the assets at your perimeter. So thanks for sharing that, Srini.
Yeah. Srini, we'll get into the next section. What advice would you give to someone looking to advance into cybersecurity leadership roles?
I would say it's somewhat comparable to the technology roles as well, but it is to develop a broader skill set, not just technical expertise, especially if somebody is going to be looking at this as a career choice. Having strong leadership, communication, and business acumen is essential to build a lasting career of increasing responsibilities. Understanding how cybersecurity aligns with your business goals and overall risk management is important. And similarly, building a relationship across departments to foster collaboration and demonstrate the strategic value of security for business. So if somebody is getting a good handle on it early in their career, it's going to help them go a long way in this cybersecurity career. And lastly, staying curious and adaptable, as cybersecurity landscape is something that is evolving on a weekly basis. And when you hear about any of the technological advancements, they are very much relevant for cybersecurity. So it is important for someone to be staying curious, to be a constant learner and be adapting to the changes.
And this question might seem familiar to you because I've asked you several times when I looked up to you. What's one piece of advice you would give your younger self when you were starting out?
I think limiting to one is difficult because I would have given a lot of advice. But I would say I will tell my younger self to embrace growth mindset and be patient, as the journey is more important than the destination. I would also tell my younger self to seize opportunities, especially when someone is willing to take a chance on you. Oftentimes, we look at like what are all the requirements and be self-critical and say like I didn't meet this, so I will be hesitant to take this opportunity. My recommendation is do not hesitate and step out of your comfort zone. Those early moments where someone believes in you can be transformative. Take those risks even if you are unsure at the beginning, because they often lead to the biggest growth and unexpected opportunities. That would be my biggest guidance.
Thank you, Srini. Srini, this has been an incredible conversation. From your early days in customs inspection to leading global security, your journey is a true masterclass in adaptability and purpose-driven leadership.
Absolutely. And it's a good reminder that the career paths are rarely linear and that leadership is more about people as much as it's about technology. And thanks for sharing your story, Srini. I had a lot of fun talking to you. Appreciate your insights and all the stories that you've shared today. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Enjoy the conversation.